thank you for having us today. We have some questions for you. Shall I start with the first one?
Yes, please.
How did you decide to come to Turkey? What brought you to Turkey? What attracted you?
Well, there's two different reasons why I came to Turkey. First and foremost, my wife, Müge Mengu, is Turkish. We met in New York City in 2004. And my first time coming to Turkey was in 2005 to meet her family. But also I was able to be invited to teach a workshop in Istanbul with the city theater there, along with Oluşum Drama Institute. And I introduced the work of Viola Spolin. Secondly, several years later, one of my students in New York City at the New Actors Workshop, Ege Maltepe, started a Spolinist in Istanbul, and she invited me to do a workshop in 2010. And it was at that time that she introduced me to Lemmy Bilgin, who was the general director of the ile Tiyatro. And we came up with the idea that I would direct a Tennessee Williams play to celebrate 100 years of the birth of Tennessee Williams. And we decided on Searcher Kemes, Glass Menagerie. And I directed that in 2011.
Can we get a general evaluation of evolution of theater in Turkey from your point of view, like the handicaps of it and the advantages of it?
I mean, there are advantages and handicaps all around the world. I don't see any difference between my teaching in New York City with students any different than I see here in Turkey. We all have the same challenges. But the one thing I would say that is unique about Turkey right now is every generation there seems to be a country that is very alive with the arts and culture. I feel like Turkey is in that period right now. The TV, the cinema, it's very alive. People are watching right now. And I think especially to Netflix in Turkey and now Disney and Blue TV and all these platforms are now international. And I think people are opening their eyes and looking at the talent in Turkey.
And can you share with us some examples of good theater you have seen in Turkey? What did you see in them? What did you like about them?
Well, I would say that you see good things and not so good things everywhere. But in Turkey recently, I would say there are some good plays that I've seen with ile Tiyatro in Ankara. 12 Angry Men, I thought was a very good production. Some theaters in Istanbul, which I haven't really seen too much of, but Dot Theater is doing very alive contemporary theater. And of course, our own company, Bilkent International Laboratory Theater, is promoting and elevating and producing new contemporary Turkish playwrights. So that really inspires me.
For 10 years, you've been doing the theater studies and given trainings at Bilkent University in Turkey. It's a long time. Where are you trying to reach with this work? What is the goal you want to achieve? What do you aim for theater in Turkey?
Well, first let me start by saying I was only coming for 1 year as a visiting assistant professor. And then within that year, they asked me to become the chair of the theater department. And I'm in love with teaching. And so Bilkent University really gives me a place where I can give different methodologies in acting to students. It's a place where I'm able to collaborate with universities and academies around the world and bring intercultural exchanges. It makes me very proud. So what was the second part of your question?
What are you trying to reach in this work? What is your goal you want to achieve? What do you aim for theater in Turkey?
Well, my goal is to, of course, give the best training I can to the students. but to make them realize their potential to be world artists, not just within Turkey, but can reach out and perform and create outside Turkey and worldwide.
What are the distinctive features of the Bilkent Performing Arts departments that you are the head of? And what kind of education do you try to provide here?
Well, we try not to give any singular approach. We try to offer different methodologies, but the two biggest ones that we offer here at Bilkent are viola spolen improvisation, and also method-based acting, which is derived from the American method acting teachers Lee Strasberg, Sanford Meisner, and Stella Adler.
You came from the Viola Spolen School of Acting. What is the difference of this model tries to make in acting?
Well, I didn't just come from the Viola Spolen School of Acting. I graduated from a school called the New Actors Workshop in New York City, which was three very prominent teachers: Mike Nichols, the famous film and theater director, George Morrison, who was a very prominent acting teacher, schooled in the method-based acting, who was, interestingly, he was a student at Yale University with Paul Newman and Haldun Dorman. They were of the same class, so it's a small world. And then Paul Sills, who was the son of Viola Spolen. So I had three of those teachers. And interestingly, it's those three teachers that really inspired me, and it is the model of the program here at Bilkent.
And can you share with us working method as a director, starting from the moment you meet the scripts?
Well, you know, it's another interesting connection with Turkey, because my biggest inspiration in directing is Elia Kazan, who was an Anatolian Turk. He was born in Istanbul, but I believe he kind of grew up in well, I forget which Anatolian city. I think so, yes. You know, he was the first real American modern theater director. Of course, he directed Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway, and then film, many of his films, On the Waterfront and Leaves of Grass, and many films. But his inspiration was that in the end, it's the actor on stage. It's the actor in front of the camera. So that the actor needs to live truthfully under these imaginary circumstances and not have an audience look at a director or a concept or a metaphor or anything, but really looking at real human life, something that's happening right now. And my teacher, Mike Nichols, kind of took from Elia Kazan that our job is to create the illusion of it happening for the first time, each and every time. And so Elia Kazan created an atmosphere. He created a process with the actors so that they could do that. And so that's my inspiration.
The subject of this issue of our magazine is stage design. How do you work with this subject as a director? What is your understanding of stage design?
The play itself, the story. Where does it take place? I try to create an atmosphere that embodies that story, that world. I don't try to work with a concept or metaphors or symbolism. I try to just tell the story. I know there's lots of directors who kind of have concepts, and they work with set designers who have lots of metaphor and these kind of things. I get that, and I actually like it when I watch it, but as a director, I don't work that way. I kind of work from what is the writer telling us? What is their story? Because in the end, in the theater, it's the play. It's the writer is the creator. And the director and the actor are interpreters of this story of this creation. So I always just go to the playwright. What world are they telling us where this story is taking place? And I try my best to create a design that embodies that. Even if it's fragmented, it's still a truthful indication of this where.
Thank you. And semiotics is everywhere in art, mostly cinema, but it has also had serious effects on theater. Can I get your thoughts on semiotic scenery, metaphorical scenery?
I don't believe in it. I don't. It's not like what I just said. I don't work from that way. I don't. Everything, I guess, kind of has symbolism in it, but I don't ever work for that. I don't ever try to tell an audience, look what I did. You know, I don't want the audience to look at a director. I want the audience to look at something that's happening right now.
Thank you. Can you give us an assessment of the developments, new works, new approaches, methods, and techniques and practices developed in the world theater? Are there things that excite you in this respect?
Yeah, you know, I'm lucky to be a representative of ITI, International Theater Institute, their network for higher education in the performing arts. And Bilkent University is a member of that since 2018. And I'm lucky that I'm now a committee member of the Forum for Theater Education and Training. And we're talking about this exactly. Different methodologies are becoming so necessary to be included in all education now. It used to be, what school are you from? What methodology of Stanislavski? Whatever. That almost is over now. I think students are, you know, they want all-embracive kind of, you know, all-inclusive kind of education. So my philosophy is at Bilkent, even though I do viola spolin and method-based acting, we also bring teachers in who are experts in Grotowski, experts in Suzuki, some people who are more into Michael Chekhov work. In the end, all these methodologies are trying to get to the same place. But through different approaches to get there, it gives a more well-rounded actor who's flexible, who's adaptable to different forms of theater, but also to jump to film, to television, and back and forth. If they have a more well-rounded education, they have that flexibility.
And you're staging for his short plays under the title by 4x10.
Yes.
What kind of affinity do you see between Tennessee Williams's characters and Turkish people?
Yeah, it's becoming a little cliche, right? Jason Hale, Tennessee Williams. And I just directed a production of Suddenly last summer in Georgia that played at the Istanbul Festival. I just think he's a good writer. And I was lucky because I studied with John Euchre, who was the last assistant to Tennessee Williams. And I kind of immersed myself in more deeper method acting with him. And he really introduced me to a deeper understanding of Tennessee Williams. I think a lot of us kind of romanticize his plays, Streetcar Named Desire or Glass Menagerie, but they're not sentimental at all. They're very real, and they're timeless. I think his stories kind of pierce through time because he wrote about real people. He often wrote about his mother, his sister, who he was very close with, and he kind of did weaves of them into different characters, but they were all based on some deep truth, some deep need that he needed to express through his life experience. And I think when you have a writer do that, I think they play everywhere. And I think Turkish audiences understand Tennessee Williams because they understand that drama, those kind of events in our lives. And I think, Tennessee kind of pierces through time.
Thank you. And Tennessee Williams has more than 40 short plays. What was the common feature of short plays staged in 4x10? Why did you choose these 4 plays?
For casting reasons. It was simply that. But we did something kind of unique with our production. In the one play, Lady of Larkspur Lotion, it's supposed to be an older character, Mrs. Wire, but we chose to not worry about age and just play it as truthfully as we can, and I think it works. In Mr. Paradise, the last play, it's supposed to be an old man, and we made the choice of making him disabled, which kind of had the same kind of effect to it. But in the short answer is because of casting for us.
In your interview at Bilkent University years ago, you mentioned the problem of translating in plays. Let me ask you this: what do we miss when a play is translated in another language? What do we lose, or we find something new?
Well, translating plays is really difficult, and not just in Turkey. I've experienced this in Georgia, in China, and Mexico. I think in order to translate a play, you need to know the language that it's written in, but you also have to have good Turkish. And then I'm convinced now that you need to be an actor to put it into communicative words, not just translating word by word, but what is the feeling behind it? What is that? So I think that's a challenge, not just in Turkey, again, it's all over. I think actors should be more translators of plays.
Right now we're in the decor of 4x10.
Yes.
And you created a beautiful atmosphere in here, actually. And do you want to say anything about this decor that we're on?
Yeah, I mean, we made the choice with the designer Özlem Gezgin, who I've collaborated with now 6-7 times. She studied at the Glasgow School of Arts, I think, in Scotland. I was thinking, we had 4 plays, and instead of like changing decor between each one, first we thought maybe we would have 2 decors and then take an intermission and then set up the next 2. And then we decided, well, the plays aren't that long. It could probably just be one act. And then we came up with the idea of just having 4 sets on stage at once. And then I thought, well, maybe a character should be in the set of each play as the audience comes in. So this was kind of this is new for me, that kind of concept, that idea. But I really thought it really worked well. And I think the lights are always very important to me, and the music, the jazz music, that kind of atmosphere. It all kind of came together, and this particular group of students who are graduating, they're very close with each other. They're very tight, and they're very dedicated. And so I'm really proud of the work that they're doing in this. Yeah.
When the audiences come, like when he came as an audience, it felt like this foreplay is combined in one apartment or in one hotel.
Yes, it kind of feels that way.
And it bonds all of the plays into each other. It doesn't feel like 4 separate.
Very interesting. Yeah. But then as the plays go, you realize they're in different locations.
We know there are different plays.
Yeah, but it felt
it made a kind of connection between the plays.
Well, that's great. That was our aim. Yes.
In every profession, there is like a separation between the fields of the profession. Do you think that the acting should be like that, or you think that an actor should do all of the things that is about this acting?
Well, I don't think everybody can do everything, but of course, you know, going back to my training, these were three very prominent directors, and they started this private acting school program so that actors learn the tools to become less reliant on directors. So they have the tools to interpret, to prepare, to do the work, and be a co-interpreter with the director, and not be so leaning on the director all the time. And I think that kind of philosophy, I think creates an actor who's more flexible then, you know, and more curious and more engaged in different projects. What do you think, Aslı?
I think so too.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
You want to add something?
No, I just want to thank you very much for this interview. It's an honor to do it.
It's an honor for us.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.